We have a really diverse coast. You can go all up and down Highway 1 and find a different type of wave for whatever level you are in surfing.
Santa Cruz is Surf City, and it all began here.
Everything is kind of on steroids. It's just that much bigger. Ocean Beach is all about paddling and beat downs.
If you can feel fit at Ocean Beach, you can go anywhere in the world and surf.
Everything you ever learned about surfing is tested every single time you catch a wave at Mavericks.
It is fight or flight. It is life and death.
If I die out there, then I'm dying doing what I love.
More than any other sport, surfing represents the California dream. It's a symbol of freedom, excitement, and creativity, even for those who don't know how to swim. Riding waves is such an iconic California experience. Surfing is the official state sport. An import from Hawaii, surfing took off in Southern California in the 1960s. Surfers created their own world, amplified by surf guitars and a heart-thumping beat. It was a renegade sport. There were no coaches and no rules. Today, Northern California boasts some of the best surfing in the state. Santa Cruz has long staked its claim to being California's true surf city. Mavericks in Half Moon Bay has no rival when it comes to fearsome monster waves. It's cold out there in the Pacific Ocean, but surf's up from Santa Cruz to San Francisco, Pacifica to Bolinas. The wetsuit, which was invented here, has made surfing possible for young and old. The sport that began with an endless summer movie and a Beach Boys soundtrack is now an Olympic sport and a California institution. And it all started when 3 princes from Hawaii came to the Bay Area to get a better education. Santa Cruz is one of the most beautiful, independent, and quirky cities on the California coast. It's surrounded by coastal mountains, redwood forests, and home to a major university. The boardwalk is the oldest amusement park in California. And because of the nearly perfect waves, Santa Cruz is a surfer's paradise.
You can be 5 years old or you can be 80 plus years old. And everybody just is like a family. It's all about having fun and getting that stoke.
Kim Stoner co-founded the Santa Cruz Surfing Museum.
Santa Cruz is Surf City, and let's just say it all began right here. We've actually cemented it in brick outside this surfing museum on a plaque.
The plaque commemorates the moment surfing began in North America. In 1885, 3 teenage princes from Hawaii came to the Bay Area to attend military school in San Mateo.
So they sent them to St. Matthews to further their education. So in the summertime, they took a train down from San Mateo to Santa Cruz. At that time, the rail line came over the mountains.
The princes spent 3 summers in Santa Cruz in a house on the San Lorenzo River. Back home in Hawaii, they were all avid swimmers and surfers. The waves in Santa Cruz looked enticing. And local redwood trees turned out to be great material for surfboards.
They were planks that were anywhere from 18 to 20 feet long, 6 inches thick. Nobody was going to steal them back then because they weighed over 200 pounds.
When the princes returned home to Hawaii, they brought their redwood boards with them.
At that time, sugar was coming from Hawaii, from Spreckles, to the West Coast, and redwood lumber was going back to Hawaii for building materials.
Hawaii became the mecca of surfing. The man who popularized the modern sport was Duke Kahanamoku. Growing up as a surfer and swimmer in Waikiki, Kahanamoku was a stellar athlete who won 5 Olympic swimming medals. He became an international celebrity, acted in many Hollywood movies, and introduced surfing to California.
He came to Santa Cruz 3 different times, 1913, 1920, and 1938, and put on swimming exhibitions at the Plunge on the boardwalk, which was a large heated saltwater pool.
When he wasn't swimming or surfing, Duke Kahanamoku worked as the sheriff of Honolulu for nearly 30 years. But among surfers, he'll always be remembered as the ambassador, the man who brought surfing to the world. Surfing in Hawaii is a warm water sport. But in the Bay Area, the ocean's cold and rugged year-round. The only way to stay in the water for long periods of time is to have a really good wetsuit. Today's sleek and flexible wetsuits took a while to develop.
In the 1930s, the Santa Cruz Surfing Club, they would go down to Goodwill and buy wool sweaters and wear those cut off the bottoms.
The man who revolutionized cold water surfing was Jack O'Neill, the inventor of the wetsuit.
I used to work downtown in San Francisco and get so screwed up I'd come out and I'd jump in the ocean and I'd feel all right again.
O'Neill came to the Bay Area in 1949. He earned a business degree at San Francisco State. Then he opened one of California's first surf shops in a garage on the Great Highway along San Francisco's Ocean Beach. Kim Stoner recalls a story his friend's father told him about O'Neill.
He surfed with Jack up in Ocean Beach, and Jack came to him one day and goes, "Hey, you know what? I want to start making these wetsuits. Would you want to invest with me in this company? We'll start this wetsuit manufacturing." And my friend's dad looked at him and says, "You're going to sell 50 wetsuits and then you're going to be broke." Well, look what Jack did.
O'Neill and his family moved to Santa Cruz in the late 1950s, drawn to the growing surf scene. He opened up a surf shop where the Dream Inn stands today. The former Navy pilot was experimenting with different materials for wetsuits. O'Neill's breakthrough came when he sewed neoprene into vests. That was just the start.
Jack revolutionized the industry because he came out with a short john and then a beaver tail. Beaver tail was sleeves and a flap that you put through your crotch and you snapped it. I remember when his son Pat O'Neill paddled out at the Steamer Lane, the first time he wore a beaver tail, within 2 weeks everybody in the water had a beaver tail. Before that, nobody, you just had minimal, you had like a vest. The wetsuit revolutionized surfing.
Jack O'Neill became a beloved symbol of surfing with his eye patch and bushy beard. He died in 2017 at the age of 94. To honor him, surfers in Santa Cruz and around the world paddled out into the ocean to celebrate his life. One of the premier surfing spots in Santa Cruz is Steamer Lane. It's the site of many competitions, including the O'Neill Cold Water Classic.
Kelly Center goes for the big backhand!
Steamer Lane got its name from the Santa Cruz Surfing Club group. The steamers used to come in and load and unload, lumber and produce and stuff like that off of a couple of the wharves there. And one day, one of the guys looked outside and said, "Hey, look, it's breaking clear out there in the steamer lanes."
In the early days, very few women were surfing at Steamer Lane. Jane McKenzie was one of the first.
I was here, I was in a spot, and I started doing something that might have been somewhat unique.
McKenzie grew up surfing in Hawaii. When she moved to Santa Cruz in the 1960s, a reporter spotted her surfing at the Lane and gave her a nickname.
He came up with this little letter that went out to the editors of one of the surfing magazines that said, "You should come and see Jane the Lane surf." So it started like that. It was a very innocent and very, I was really honored that he took the time to do that.
With her physical strength and swimming skills, McKenzie held her own around the men.
From a kind of a male standpoint, back then, women had a different place and role in society. And I was told many times I should be home in the kitchen, home in the bedroom, home wherever I should be, but I shouldn't be out surfing. That was one group of guys. Another group of guys were warm and welcoming and endearing to me. I think today the equipment is so much easier for women. The wetsuits are so much more comfortable, easier to get on. Boards are lighter. The environment is more inviting to women.
In 2011, Santa Cruz was named a World Surfing Reserve. There are at least 23 consistent surf breaks along this coast. Every time surfers enter the ocean, they cross into a wild environment. McKenzie never forgets the time she came too close to a whale.
I was paddling around Middle Peak, and all of a sudden something just went crazy on the side of me. And I looked up and the whale had breached, and it was right next to me, and it splashed. Barnacles were huge on its face. I always pay my respect to all the ocean creatures when I go in, and I ask for safe permission and safe time out, back out of the water. I always ask.
50 miles north of Santa Cruz, the waves can be a lot bigger. They can even be deadly. But that doesn't stop big wave surfers from testing the monsters of Mavericks.
It's one of the most dangerous and most powerful places. For me, it was an opportunity to push myself to another level, and another level, and another level.
Santa Cruz has the beaches, the boardwalk, and the wetsuits. It also has a master in board shaping, Bob Pearson. See how a surfboard is made at nbcbayarea.com/revelations. Half Moon Bay is a small harbor town 30 miles south of San Francisco. Most of the time, it's peaceful. But at one spot, at certain times in the winter, it's spectacular. Some of the biggest and most dangerous waves in the world break at a place called Mavericks. Big wave surfers are willing to risk everything for the drop of their lives.
Nobody's gonna own Mavericks. It'll let you dance with it and be very successful at it. But as soon as you say, "I got this," you're gonna find yourself being held down for a long time with that giant mound of water on your head.
Jeff Clark is the man known for discovering Mavericks.
Actually, all through high school, we called it Super Peak because it was the most amazing wave on the coast. And we'd sit there, we'd go up and watch it. During those times that I maybe should have been in school, and I was sitting on the point watching giant, beautiful waves.
Born in Redwood City, Clark moved to Half Moon Bay when he was a young child. His family's home was 100 feet from Miramar Beach. Every day he watched and studied surfers and the surf.
It changed every day. Something was different. The swell got big, it got small, storms would come in and tear up the beach, and I thought I'd gone to heaven. My playground was ended up being right in the front yard. I was enamored with I was like, what are these guys doing? I want to do this. And so I started to read about surfing, and there was no internet, so there was no cell phones, there was no computers. It was all just a real existence of, wow, you noticed something changed in the neighborhood.
After years of scouting the waves at Mavericks, Clark decided it was time to take the challenge. In 1975, at the age of 17, Clark was ready. But he would have to do it alone. His friends thought it was way too risky.
I said to Brian, look, it's not too crazy today, with storms or being really giant. Let's go over there. And I finally talked him into going around the point to just look at it. He goes, I'm not going out there with you. There's no way. It breaks in front of a big pile of rocks. You're not going to live if you wipe out there. I thought differently. And so I said, well, at least watch me, keep an eye on me. And he goes, hurry up. I was out there surfing a lot by myself. The waves would be big, and I'd go, hey, let's go surf, and you see how big it is? He goes, yeah, I'll see you at the beach. Nobody wanted to go with me because they didn't want to have to go up in the point and look at Mavericks.
Clark would surf Mavericks by himself for 15 years. He loved the giant waves. In 1990, he finally got other surfers to join him.
I was general contractor, and I'm doing seismic retrofits on buildings in San Francisco. I have a crew, and I drive up the coast, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it is so big. I'm going to the job, and I got to the job up in the sunset, and I go, hey, you guys can work, or you can come watch me surf Mavericks. But we're out of here.
That day, he coaxed two veteran surfers, Tom Powers and Dave Schmidt, into the towering waves.
See that peak? And they see this giant peak. And you see Dave just all of a sudden this anxiety and this nervous energy come over him, and he starts looking and putting his head down and looking again and pacing back and forth. And I go, what's up, Dave? He goes, we're going out there, huh? I was just like, yes, we are. And we paddle out there. It's the groundbreaking of Mavericks for the rest of the world.
Word quickly spread. Mavericks was the place to be, but it was treacherous. In 1994, Hawaiian big wave surfer Mark Fu drowned while surfing at Mavericks.
How could one of the best big wave surfers in the world die in California? California doesn't have big waves. Oh yes, it does. And one of the most dangerous waves on the planet.
Despite the tragedy, the allure only grew stronger. In 1999, Jeff Clark helped organize the first Titans of Mavericks competition. It's an invitation-only contest for daredevils. It happens during the winter, only when conditions are exactly right. And when they're right, the best big wave surfers in the world get a 48-hour notice.
The performance of big wave surfing has gone through the roof. And the guys that are really good at Mavericks, they can go anywhere in the world, and their skills that they've learned here will travel well.
The Mavericks competition has been held 10 times. The last one was in 2016. The contest has gained international notoriety, but there have been setbacks. In 2010, 13 spectators were injured when waves washed ashore. There have been hassles with permits, licenses, and sponsorships. In 2019, the World Surf League canceled the contest indefinitely, saying there were logistical challenges. Clark and another local entrepreneur are trying to revive the contest. They're calling it the Mavericks Surf Awards. Surfers submit videos of their best rides over a season.
My objective was to celebrate Mavericks and the men and women who surf it. Everybody that surfs out there has a shot to be celebrated. And that's the goal. Men, women, it is inclusive of everyone.
And it is just all time right now.
Historically, Mavericks has been an all-male event. Professional female surfers have challenged that. Bianca Valenti is one of the women who have led the fight for equality. When men told her it was too dangerous, she refused to listen.
People are gonna die, it's unsafe, you can't do this, it's a bad idea. All the haters, like, you know, and so I guess it's just that, like, haters gonna hate.
For decades, women have been fighting for recognition in professional surfing. Finally, in 2018, the World Surfing League announced it would offer equal prize money to men and women at all WSL events. Big wave surfer Bianca Valenti.
I've been an advocate since I was 7 years old, since I started surfing, because every time I paddle out into a lineup, as the only female and as one of the best surfers in the water, that's already opening people's minds to what's possible and why women should have every opportunity that men have and why things, you know, the playing field should be level.
Growing up in Southern California, Valenti loved the ocean. One day, her mother suggested she try surfing.
She took me down to Doheny Beach in Dana Point, which is like a perfect beginner beach with 1 foot waves, and she like put her chair right at the edge of the water and said, "Don't make me come and rescue you."
Valenti was a natural. She would get up every morning to surf before school.
I decided I wanted to be a champion. I got a poster of Kelly Slater, the greatest surfer of all time, put it on my wall, and I just knew that I wanted to be the best surfer because I loved it so much.
She began winning competitions, but she couldn't escape the sexism in the sport.
I realized that the people who were on my teams with me, we had the same sponsors, they would be getting better packages if they had that like model type sexy image, or the boys would be getting a better package. So it was really frustrating to be at the top of the podium, but then not getting the same support.
It was frustrating, but she refused to give up. Moving to the Bay Area, she began surfing at Ocean Beach and made a name for herself. In 2014, Valenti took part in a women's big wave competition in Oregon. She won. The prize money was not nearly as much as the men earned, but it inspired her to keep going.
More than just winning, it felt like a win for all of the women because it was the first time big wave surfing was broadcast on the internet, and we got tons of insanely positive feedback with people saying just that, like, whoa, like, you bent my mind, you opened my mind, like, we didn't know women could surf these big waves. When you win, you want to win again. And so I was like, oh, well, we should be on the full world tour, and the first place that makes most sense to ask to be a part of is 20 minutes from my house, Mavericks. And I just thought it seemed like it was just gonna be an easy yes from the event organizers because women are half of the population. It seemed like a good business move in my mind. And yeah, I had no idea what was ahead.
24 of the world's greatest big wave surfers are here.
The next 4 years were a constant struggle for recognition and acceptance into the Mavericks competition. When the World Surfing League finally announced equal pay for women surfers, Valenti couldn't believe it.
I was in a low. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, I'm just gonna take a nap today. It was kind of like that. Like, you know, it's like foggy in the summer, San Francisco, gray out, and I'm like, fighting for equity is really hard. When I woke up from my nap, I had like, my roommate ran up the stairs and was like, oh my gosh, I just heard the announcement. And then I looked at my phone and I had like 50 texts. And I was like, what announcement? She's like, WSL just announced equal pay. And I was like, what? I was in shock. It was like one of those moments where you've been fighting for so long and you have this goal and then all of a sudden it happens, but like nothing really happens, you know, at that moment. It's just like they say, something gets said. And I was like, well, is it really true? Or, you know, what now?
The first thing that came to mind was catching a big wave, a really, really big wave. She packed her bags and headed to Puerto Escondido in Mexico.
So I saw a huge swell coming to Mexico, and I was like, I'm going to that swell, is what now? And I caught the biggest wave that anyone's ever caught at Puerto Escondido. When I was paddling for that giant wave, the guys were just cheering, go Bianca, go, and then I dropped into it, and it was a smooth, buttery drop, and then I looked, because at Puerto Escondido, you're always trying to find the barrel, and I looked up, and this wave was just huge, like 4 stories high, and I thought to myself, wait, don't look too long, and then kept going and kind of get shot out back into the lineup, and everyone's cheering, and it just felt like smooth and easy. It was the moment of celebration that I guess I really was looking for, my equal pay wave.
Despite the promise of equality, women have yet to compete at a Mavericks competition.
Surfing doesn't pay the bills, no. Surfing, especially big wave surfing, I mean, right now there's no events. And if you ask people, they will tell you, don't become a big wave surfer for the money.
To support her surfing, Valenti works as a sommelier at her father's Italian restaurant, Valenti & Company, in San Anselmo.
My father's the best chef in the world, and I'm not biased, but I started off just wanting an opportunity to compete in Mavericks for myself, but then it became a much bigger story that was about everyone. I wish it wasn't a fight, because fighting sucks, but no matter how hard things get, I always come back to that I'm doing this for the kids and to make a difference for the future.
Yeah, Luca!
At Mavericks, the next generation of surfers has emerged. A group of young guns who call themselves the Mavs Mafia.
If there's something dangerous, or I know it's dangerous, or as weird as it sounds, like if someone died doing something, then I'm like, oh, I want to try that. I want in on that action. It's an interesting relationship with risk, and I feel like, I mean, it's funny, it's a kind of cliche to say, but you got to take the risk or lose the chance.
Born and raised in Half Moon Bay, Luca Patois got his first taste of risk in a junior lifeguards program.
One of our best friends and instructors of the lifeguard program pushed me into my first wave, and after that it was hooked, game on.
Patois learned how to surf in Santa Cruz. By age 9, he could handle 4 to 5 foot waves. He was barely in his teens when he first surfed Mavericks, encouraged by his mentor, Tim West.
So Tim gives me a call, says Mavericks is going to be good today. And Tim had been surfing Mavericks for years. It was the week of my 13th birthday, and I answered the phone and was like, cool, have fun, hope you have a good time. And he was like, no, I think you should come. And kind of then I started getting the butterflies, started getting excited and nervous, and then he just said, grab your wetsuit and get down to my house, let's do this. So, of course, I didn't tell my parents that I was going to go surf Mavericks because I didn't want there to be any chance of anyone saying no and preventing me from doing what I wanted to do. By Maverick standards, it wasn't the biggest day, it wasn't the heaviest day, but it was good 15 to 20 feet. I knew right after I caught that wave at Mavericks that that's exactly what I wanted to be doing for the rest of my life.
Patois now trains full-time in Malibu and surfs big waves all over the world. But Mavericks is home. and it's still the ultimate challenge.
You could have your worst wipeout ever somewhere around here or wherever you're surfing in the world, and I guarantee you, you fall at Mavericks, it's going to be 10 times worse than that. This is what we live for, and if I die out there, then I'm dying doing what I love.
Patois shares his passion for thundering waves with his longtime friends, the Mavs Mafia.
It's a really tight brotherhood that I have with my few friends here and my brother from Half Moon Bay, and you know, we have one of the best big waves in the world, literally in our backyard.
Yeah, Luca!
It's our spot. We hold it down. We love it. Like I said, I'll say it again. We live for it.
Thomas Lundgaard and Luca Patois have been surfing together since they were kids. On a big day at Mavericks, they're ready to ride.
For how scary big wave surfing is, we're honestly just playing around, making jokes, having fun. We also push each other. So for example, this last swell, we'll be screaming at each other, go, 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 go.
Lundgaard says a monster wave is like a giant moving slab of water.
It goes from super deep to super shallow, and the wave jacks up super quickly. The water's dark. Since the water's colder here, it heavier, it packs more of a punch. It's raw, there's rocks, there's reef. So that factor makes it super unique because you can't find that.
All the way to the beach!
In 2018, Lundgaard opened up Tommy Tsunami Surfing School in Half Moon Bay.
And we don't actually teach out at Mavericks, but we teach at Surfers Beach, or the jetty, which is 5 minutes in from Mavericks, protected by the harbor. So it'll be 20 feet at Mavericks, and it'll be 2 foot at the jetty. And honestly, I love teaching people. Seeing their face when they catch their first wave reminds me of why I started surfing in the first place. Just sharing the stoke with someone else is a really good feeling.
Mavericks is famous, notorious and unforgiving. It demands commitment. In San Francisco at Ocean Beach, it takes determination just to paddle out.
Ocean Beach is famous for its extremely long paddle out. It can take an hour just to get out into the lineup.
Who responds when the big wave surfers wipe out? Meet Drake Stanley, one of the rescue volunteers out at Mavericks, saving lives, on NBCBayArea.com/revelations. Ocean Beach is a 3.5-mile long sandy stretch at the end of San Francisco, just beyond Golden Gate Park. It's always been a popular tourist attraction with the historic Cliff House, the old Sutro baths, and the long-gone amusement park Playland. But most of the summer, the beach is foggy, cold, and not a place to swim.
It's a different kind of surfer that's drawn to Ocean Beach. It's someone that likes a challenge, that likes cold water, danger, likes surviving danger. It is the opposite of Malibu surfing.
Surf photographer Sachi Cunningham lives at Ocean Beach. She's a dedicated surfer, though not a professional.
I can always tell a Southern California surfer out there because they're smiling, they're saying hi to everyone, they're just having they think they're in sunny Southern California and just, and everyone here is just growling at each other, and because it's competitive to get a wave out there and it's hard.
Oh, beautiful and quick.
In 2011, Ocean Beach hosted the Rip Curl Search, where some of the best professional surfers took on the rigorous conditions, including superstar Kelly Slater. Slater has won 11 world championships. Surfing in San Francisco is not for the faint-hearted.
The sharks, I don't like to talk about the sharks. There's definitely sharks out there. This is their home. I'm very grateful they've let us come and play in it.
Churning white water and powerful tides make Ocean Beach one of the most fearsome in California. Bianca Valenti nearly died here, surfing with a friend.
there was a big mountain of white water coming, and we duck dove under that. And then the next wave was like the size of a house. And I looked at my friend Parker, and he said, well, see you on the other side. And as I went under that wave, I mean, I was just getting like ragdolled, spun around, ripped around. And as I just barely had enough energy to slowly swim to the surface, I thought, if there's another wave, I'm definitely going to die. Got to the surface, and I was just convulsing and trembling and gasping for air. And I looked at Parker, and he said, I'm going in. And I was like, me too. I'm definitely not fearless. I'm a calculated risk taker.
Grant Washburn is hard to miss. He's 6'5", 235 pounds, and almost every day he's charging into the surf. Born and raised back east, Washburn came to California in 1990, searching for waves. He had no idea what existed at Ocean Beach.
At one point I said to somebody, wow, the waves are pretty big today, like in this August, and they kind of looked at me and like, what, did you just move here or something? And I said, oh yeah. And they said, well, this is nothing. And I said, well, how big does it get? It's too big. And I'd never heard that as a thing, like it's too big. Too big to surf, like at all? Yeah, too big. I couldn't understand it. And then pretty quickly I did understand it.
That was 30 years ago. Washburn has been confronting big waves ever since.
Grant Washburn gets his first wave.
He's taken part in every Mavericks competition, but contests don't really interest him. What motivates Washburn is the hunt. The search for the ultimate wave.
It's like a primal connection to life, you know, so that's something that's really hard to explain to people. It is fight or flight, it is life and death. But the other thing was just paddling out and getting near one of these things and having one come flying by and just being like, oh my God, and just barely getting out of the way of it. And it's like Jurassic Park just stomped through the forest and you just ran by. So that, not riding it, just seeing the feet of a Tyrannosaurus Rex crush a bunch of trees, was like, holy cow. The pictures do no justice to this, to what's going on. So when you see a photo of it, it's about 1/10 of the thrill.
Washburn lives in San Francisco with the Pacific Ocean at his front door. He has a family, raising 2 daughters. His day job is filmmaking.
I'm just wiped out. I'm getting just worked.
Washburn photographed Mavericks for the celebrated 2004 documentary film about big wave surfing, Riding Giants. He was an advisor on the set of the Hollywood movie Chasing Mavericks, working with actor Gerard Butler on surfing techniques. Fit and rugged, Washburn says the sport keeps him young. He's not quitting anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna surf until I can't. One of my older friends said to me, the waves are bigger more when you're older. When you're 25, like only the biggest day feels big. When you're 75, half of them feel big.
While veterans like Grant Washburn continue to ride the waves, an East Bay organization, Brown Girls Surf, is opening up the sport to a wider community.
We're building a surf culture and a surf community in our own image. And it is one that is joyful, it is diverse, and it is environmentally reverent.
Mira Manicum Shirley is a naturalist. She grew up in New Jersey and moved to the Bay Area in 2009 to work at the Environmental Education Center in Marin County.
It was a dream life to suddenly be a person who lived at the beach. Like, who gets to live at the beach? Suddenly, I get to live at the beach.
A lifelong swimmer, Mira discovered surfing at the age of 31. She wanted to share the experience with others.
At the time, Farhana Huck, who is now my dear friend, she had started Brown Girl Surf and had this really cool website and was doing speaking engagements. So we connected and hit it off immediately. I think both Farhana and myself, and pretty much everyone who is now part of the Brown Girl Surf community has had the experience of feeling like, whoa, like I don't see myself there, like that doesn't reflect me. It's a very, very male, very white environment. Usually very few women out in the lineup, very few women of color.
The image of surfing, especially in advertising, has been alienating.
Like when I go onto Surfline to just check the surf report, and the only image of a female I see is like it's an ad. It's like a butt ad, you know, a female surfer butt ad, we call it. That's constantly what you see in mainstream surf culture. So the idea was, well, okay, like that doesn't feel reflective of us, but we have the power to make our community and make our culture the way we want it to be.
In 2015, Brown Girls Surf began community surf clinics for women and girls of all ages. They call them Surf Sister Saturdays. It's all volunteer.
We wanted to be able to give everyone sort of a one-on-one instruction, because that's really helpful when you're first learning how to surf.
Mira says it's making a difference.
There's like 20 people I can call on any given Saturday to go surfing with through the community of Brown Girl Surf, and that alone is amazing. We get emails, Facebook messages, Instagram messages constantly about, like, is there an organization like this? I'm in Florida, like, I'm in Washington State, you know, I'm in New Jersey. There are folks everywhere who are into surfing and are into this idea of building community and of centering the voice of women of color, of women, of people of color in surfing.
Surfing is the official sport of California. Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill in 2018 declaring surfing to be the state's iconic sport. More people are surfing now than ever before. And it's no longer just beach boys and blondes.
Several years ago, we took our girls to see this movie, It Ain't Pretty, that featured Bianca Valenti.
The Wicker X Super Session was the first time that we were given a platform to demonstrate to the world what women in big wave surfing is all about.
Professional surfers like Bianca Valenti are inspiring young girls to get in the water.
A lot of our girls had been introduced to surfing through Brown Girl Surf, through this very inclusive community. And then they were watching the first surf movie that they ever saw in their lives was this movie about women charging Ocean Beach. And that is so powerful. Because we have so many women out there doing this, and because, you know, equal pay is on the table now, like that's what the next generation, that's what they see, and that's going to be a given for them, and it should be.
A few years ago, photographer Sachi Cunningham's work was featured in Surfer magazine.
They had a special edition that featured a photo essay that I did about Bianca and some of the women that we surf with. And the image that I shot of those women in the water was the first time that an image shot from the perspective of the water at Ocean Beach had ever made it into Surfer magazine. It was of a woman, by a woman, was something I remain very proud of. Young women that have never been told no, that you can't do it. They don't see the limitations, and you know, that, like, I'm gonna tear up right now. It does, it's just like, that's what I'm doing all of this for.
People are changing the sport, and technology is transforming the very nature of surfing. Wave pools are generating artificial waves, allowing people to surf far away from the ocean. Legendary surfer Kelly Slater has created a large surf ranch in the Central Valley.
Wave pool technology has been coming out, so it kind of changes, like, from just surfing on the coast to worldwide. And then I also see it, maybe not 5 years, but like 10, 15, 20 years, it being like a worldwide sport. And like in, you know, Texas, like there's wave pools in Texas. Like, when could you surf in Texas until now? So that technology is definitely changing the game.
Another new development is the hydrofoil. It's a thin, lightweight sheet of carbon fiber that lifts the board out of the water Maverick surfer Jeff Clark loves the ride.
You could fly on a wave like a bird, and once the wave stopped breaking, you could fly on the energy of just a swell moving through the water. It's spreading the crowd and finding another way to enjoy one of the greatest natural resources on the planet.
Climate change is now threatening that planet, and surfers have become advocates for the ocean they depend upon.
Coastal erosion, all kinds of things are happening. You know, we may lose some of these surf spots with sea level rise and erosion and things like that. So I think it's being aware. What can surfers do to protect the environment? What can surfers do to protect their home break and provide kind of longevity to that?
Born in the South Pacific, surfing came to California more than a century ago. Since then, it's spread around the world, from Australia to South Africa to Portugal. And surfing has become an Olympic sport for men and women. In the Bay Area, the beautiful but bracing and unpredictable water attracts a special kind of surfer.
It's a super interesting cross-section of humans that are into this, and no matter where you go in the world, whoever's the one out there on these days is usually an exceptional character.
Surfing in the Bay Area is gnarly. I think surfing in the Bay Area is challenging. It has challenges that really you don't have anywhere else in the world. The cold water, the sharks, and people.
You could be having the worst day in the world, and you can go out and surf in 2-foot junk and come in and you feel great. Or you can go out and you can surf in 8 to 10 foot beautiful waves and come in with the same stoke.
When I first paddle out in a swell, I'll go over and paddle over the waves until all of a sudden, I don't even notice that I'm halfway down the face digging and getting to my feet, and I'm flying, I'm free. I couldn't be happier.
I just fell in love with the community of athletes, all of these people who are really focused on like what is possible and not held back living in a fear-based mentality.
Whether you're a 60-foot big wave surfer or you're just catching whitewash in Half Moon Bay, you are doing this thing that connects you to the ocean, that will sustain your spirit.